and then everything will be fine, except for the fact that I haven't changed the name of this on Twitch, so you're going to hear a lot of weird noises, so bear with me one moment. This is going to be me typing. I really do apologize for this. Create a dashboard. Oh my god. Edit stream info. So we're gonna go RPG. So Urslok Chronicles RPG live stream. Actually, I think what I should do just at the butt end of this, maybe put what this is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go like time with the DM. There we go. And then this will just be chatting. Just chatting. We're just chatting. There we go. That's now updated all of those. So there we go. Right, hello and welcome to the Urslok Chronicles. This is a bit of a different video to the one that you may have watched. If not, you can check that out on my Twitch channel. It should still be there. If not, we're going to have a YouTube channel as well. All the information is going to be somewhere. Anyway, right now what I want to do is kind of like update you as to what my plans for this podcast are. Because I've really enjoyed doing it, I kind of want to do it a little bit more. So my plans at the moment are basically to do two videos, or two types of videos, should I say, and that will be released, once every week. So the first week will always be the podcast. That will be recorded and streamed live, and everything will be done with that. And then the next part will be basically a kind of retrospective with the DM, which would be myself, and that will come the week after that has been released. And then I will upload the podcast that we did live, and then I will upload that to a YouTube channel, which is yet to be made because we've got a lot of other things that we need to think about. So, with those things in mind at the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the session that we've just had. So you're going to hear a lot of paper shuffling. It's because I got lots of paper in front of me. I don't know if you heard me flip them, but I did. So this session just gone. On the screen you can see its title card. It says Season 1, Episode 1, The Roadside Encounter. Now, this was supposed to be a kind of opening session. Something very simple, something very easy for the players to digest and get them into kind of playing the system, because this is a system they haven't played before. Very similar to D&D, but it isn't D&D. It's the Black Hack 2nd edition. So I just wanted to get the players, used to being in character in the system, used to how they're supposed to make the rolls, and it was very good for me to do the same. So I made this basically encounter, very easy, very non-threatening in a way. Excuse me, I think I may be coming down with something, so if I cough a lot, my apologies. So on the screen you can see this is referred to as Roadside Encounter. In my notes I came up with a much better name, but I forgot to change it on there to On the Road to Magic, because basically the first session starts with the players going off to a city called Gilmerry, also known as the City of the Obsidian Order. Basically a city of magic, which is very cool, and I'm really excited for the players to be there now. So I kind of created this encounter to get them into the swing of things. The way that I did that is by just having two characters that they meet, Gilfrey ap Goldwyn and then Rhoda Smithson. The players meet these two on the road, gives them a chance to get into character, gives them a chance to talk to some characters in the world and learn a little bit of in-world lore. Lets them learn about the world that they're in at the moment. So I kind of constructed these two characters to be exposition dumps, but in a kind of slightly more naturalistic way. So Gilfrey ap Goldwyn, he's this big cat with like scars on his face, and if the players had noticed, he would have had a false eye. Metal pauldrons, leather armor. He's the kind of the world weary. He's been around a lot. Um, he's seen the world. He's been a part of it for a long time, so he knows the kind of the rough and ready side of the world. But then you've got Rhoda Smithsvan, who's this little human girl, and humans are super rare in the setting. They don't come up much, and they tend to stick together and very closely together, and don't tend to interact with the outside world that much. So it kind of presents a very strange situation right out of the bat that gets the players with big question marks on, especially when you kind of explain that to them. So Rhoda's there as the kind of I'm human. I've never been outside of my van, but I've heard of this place and I want to be there. Now, I think my players figured out why she wants to be there, because she's been graced with magical ability and she feels like she can't learn it where she is at the moment. So she's traveling on the road to the same city that the players are, and she's like learning how to do magic, which fits very well and very nicely with the way that my players want to play. So they were kind of created to present my players with this, encounter where they can talk to another human, inverted commas, being, and they can interact with the world. I then wanted them to get used to combat, and especially with how I want to run combat. So the biggest thing for me in this was presenting them with a combat that will challenge the players, that will present them with an interesting situation that they're in. So, whilst they're traveling, Gilfrey and Rhoda basically suggest that because it's getting late, that they should bunker down together for safety and security as a kind of group, right? And they set themselves up underneath this kind of rocky thing. I set this up so that there was rough terrain. I set this up so that there was like things that they would struggle with. The camp was tightly packed because it was raining. It was placed in this specific location with the kind of overhang because it was raining. I wanted to present this situation where there's a lot going on. It's very tight and cramped, so that the players had to think about a lot of stuff. One of those being kind of rough terrain. Going through like a tent would take you a lot longer, or you can just break it down. Gives you an option. There are logs around because that's where you've been sitting. If you don't notice them, you can fall over. I wanted to present these types of things. Not all of them came into play, but I wanted to present those things. And then I put an enemy in there that perfectly encapsulated what I wanted from that scenario, which was one of the enemies could fire a glob of basically web that they could put into an area and basically stick the players down, get them stuck to the floor, so that it was easier for the smaller spiders to come in and then try and wrap them up in this like silky web, and then they were going to attempt to basically airlift them out of there type of thing, and basically take them to another location. This presented the players with such a cool thing they needed to think about, because Rhoda was the one that got targeted. This young human, very innocent and very kind of cutesy, is being abducted, and then Gilfrey's attitude of just sack everything else off, I'm gonna go rescue Rhoda because I've been charged with looking after her, was so important for the players to see that, and also for the players to feel that, because in that combat encounter they were like, we need to go rescue Rhoda, but I'm going to be doing that at the detriment to my own safety. At some points they were like, I need to go past these 3 spiders to get to her, but I'm not going to be able to get to her in time. What do I do? And they chose the suboptimal path. The optimal path would have been to kill all the spiders, stop them from being able to do it, but they wanted to get to her quicker. And that was so cool, and I loved that. So I presented them with this situation. Now, some of the things that I think I didn't do too well in that, because I feel like I've covered a lot of the stuff that I think I did really, 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 really well. Some of the things I think I didn't do too well with were setting the scene very well. I opened really well with setting the scene, but then I kind of let it slide a little more. There was a point where I had to turn around and go, "Oh yeah, sorry, you're like at this location under this overpass. Sorry, underneath this kind of overhang." That's the word. And I was like, I didn't really kind of explain that all too well, and I should have probably put that in to be like, "Hey, look, this is where you are. This is the situation you're in." Um, Another thing that I didn't go too well was later on when the party kind of travel down the road to the city. I didn't explain the city in as much detail as I wanted, and I also left out one major kind of plot point, and that was them having arrived at the city was supposed to be the start of this grand adventure where they were going to enter themselves, or potentially enter themselves, into a magical competition where they could prove their mettle with magic and combat, and then they would be put into basically this grand tournament versus a series of others. Sorry, my phone's just vibrated. A series of other encounters. So I didn't introduce that concept at all. As soon as they arrived in the city, it was straight to that boot shop. Loved the boot shop. That was phenomenal. Totally improv, but I loved the boot shop. Anyway, I didn't introduce the idea of this future plot hook. However, that is going to shift and change a little bit after having spoken to my players. I'm going to go into that in a moment when we enter into our spoilers section, and I will let you know about it just in case you want to listen to the next part of this podcast without any major big spoilers, because we're going to go into a lot of big stuff here. So basically that's kind of what I feel like I didn't do very well, setting the scene and kind of explaining the scene and keeping the scene explanations going as much as I wanted to. Big like shame on that one, and I really wish I kind of done that a bit better. That's pretty much the only thing that I could think of as far as role play stuff goes. Now we're going to enter into a little bit more of a tech talk. Tech talk with Andy. Do 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 do. I don't know why I did like the countdown theme. I did. We're all gonna live with it. So tech talk with Andy. What didn't go so well tech wise? One, you could barely, and in some parts, couldn't even hear Gina, who plays AV. You could not hear them, and that's a massive shame because, like, just outside of the fact that it's you not being able to hear like one person, there was so much roleplay coming out of it. There was so like just out of them was so much beautiful roleplay, asking some great questions of Rhoda, just while sitting at that campfire, asking, "Why are you here? Why are you traveling to the city?" And I love the fact that Rhoda doesn't initially answer. She doesn't straight away go in with like, "Yes, this, yes, that." She asks a question immediately of AV to kind of deflect a little bit, and it doesn't work. AV straight back in with more questions. I fucking loved that. That was perfect. So not being able to hear Gina was my biggest like no moment for that podcast. And like everybody that I've shown the podcast and everybody that's listened to it has been saying the same thing. You can sometimes you can hear them just about, other times they're just gone. And that sucks. And I hate it. And we fixed it now, in theory. So this is the tech part now. I've bought myself a Y splitter for an XLR input because I'm using a Focusrite 2-input XLR audio interface. I've bought myself a Y splitter now. I know that can come with some issues, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put me, Jack, and Loren into the one input with two microphones because we're fairly consistently loud. That picking us up is fine. I'm then going to put Gina on her own audio track so that I can boost her volume a little bit. Then also in OBS, which is what we're using to kind of stream with, I'm going to be using a compressor just to bring down those highs, but then I'm also going to be using an expander to raise up those lows. So hopefully when me, Jack, and Loren go really loud, it kind of crushes that down. And then when Gina gets really quiet, it kind of brings that back up a bit. And it kind of hopefully will bring Gina out a little more. Plus, with the positioning of her microphone, it'll be way better. It'll just, hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be way better. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the kind of interface that we have at the moment. I absolutely adore it. It's beautifully like retro. It kind of has all of the tropes of old school D&D. However, there's one thing that I really want, and we're on it, but it's one thing that I really want and I'm really looking forward to. I want to add some art into that little kind of like diamond box. And Loren is an absolutely amazing artist. Absolutely phenomenal kind of style and look to it. It's very cartoony and very like energetic is the way that I would phrase it. It's got so much going for it that I want to smack that right into that like kind of diamondy box. I've also done a little bit of redesigning of the front screen so that it will incorporate that a little bit better. So as you're seeing it right now, the Urslok Chronicles won't take that space. I've kind of shrunk that down a little bit, scooched that up, and then in the middle there you will have that piece of art. And I'm so excited just to see what they've done with it. We sat down with like the Art and Arcana, the big like kind of D&D art book, and we just went through it just page by page, and we spoke about like I was like, I love this bit, and she was like, I love this bit, and we just smashed it out as much as we could, right? Just getting a solid like this is what we both like, this is what we both don't like. Let's make that a thing. So I'm really excited to see what they do with it. So that's the next bit that we're gonna do. As far as doing video, having a webcam on there, or like having the players be visible and me be visible and the table be visible, as of right now, that's a not this session coming. It might be a next session deal, just because I currently have a GoPro and a capture card that we could use to capture the table beautifully. I also do have a webcam that we could use to record like maybe just the players, but I would also like, if I'm going to do it, I'd like to do it 100%, and I would like to get my face in there as well, so that we can have everything be like visually on the screen so that you can see it. So those are the kind of tech talk things that I want to do. Other than that, I think the stream went really well. Sound and a little bit of like my wishes as far as video stuff goes, notwithstanding, I think the stream went really well. Now, this is going to be the spoiler part, and you're going to hear some weird noises just for a moment. Right. Just because I need to pick up. I'm very sorry about that. I need to pick up some notes. Sorry, I thought my phone just vibrated, like as if I was getting a call. It didn't. It's all fine. So this is going to be big spoiler part. So I am going to basically do a big pause, and I'm going to let you guys. Any of you that don't want to listen to the next bit, absolutely fine. Anybody who does, carry on listening, and you can basically get a little bit of spoilers, but also a bit of a peek behind the curtain as to my thought process. Now, what I really want to do with this is once the next session's done and then I get to sit down and basically do the planning, I've already planned a little bit of the next session. Next time I want to do full, I plan it whilst I'm sitting with you guys, and I will, if anybody puts anything in the chat that's a really cool idea, I'll take it on board. I might incorporate it. If anybody suggests something and it doesn't seem to fit with this one, I will definitely keep it on board and use it for later on down the line. This isn't going to just be a me creating, it's going to be an us creating. And also, I want to show you guys the peek behind the curtain a little bit. This is what this bit's for. is showing what my thinking is about specific things that I'm doing in the podcast, and then you getting to hear me plan them out and me kind of explain them, and then you get to see how they worked and if they were successful or not. So this is kind of a little bit of the planning with the DM section, or world building with the DM if you want to. So so this is going to be the spoiler alert, so I'll give you a moment to leave if you haven't already. Okie dokie. Hello. Right, so the next session is going to be called The Big Worries of a Little Wizard. I love that name, right? It's going to take up after the players have spent some time in that boot shop, because we kind of left it at the boot shop section, and I kind of want to move it forward a little bit more. Now, what they're going to do is Gulfrey is going to kind of suggest to them that he knows a tavern that they can go to, and it's going to be the Sodden Leaf Inn. They're going to go, potentially, if they want to, and they're going to lose Gulfrey and Rhoda. That's to basically now put the players slightly on their own with a little bit of an idea of where they are and what they're doing. Whilst they're at the inn, they're going to level up. Now, leveling up in the Black Hack, that involves, how to put it, that involves them having to spend money to fund a night of drinking, of feasting, of having a good time. Hence why I set this next bit in a tavern. And also why, whilst they're there, basically a young wizard from the college is going to appear. His name's Murfish, and he's going to appear and he's going to ask the players for help because he's heard of the exploits that the players are talking about. It's such a great way of like incorporating a mechanical thing with a narrative thing and just smushing those two things together, and like it's just tasty, right? Tasty. So Murfish is going to approach the players and say that he is going to be entering into this big, grand, magical competition, the one that I mentioned before. He's going to be entering into this big magical competition. It's going to be happening at the end of the month. It's going to give players plenty of time to prepare if they want to enter into it. He's saying that he's going to be entering into it. However, some of his compatriots, some of his classmates, have mysteriously gone missing. Now, Murfish is going to have an idea that it was these two rich kids that they call, what do they call them? The Brothers Grimm. The names are Baltor and Gilfrax. And Murfish is going to be like, it's those two. It has to be those two. They've kidnapped my friends, and I don't know what to do about it. And he's going to be a bit drunk, and he's going to be a bit like sad and frustrated and maybe a little bit angry. But he's going to basically encourage the players to help him, and he's going to be giving them basically a 10 gold reward. I don't have an economy set up in my brain, so that felt like a really good starting point as far as money goes. Now, at this point, I originally had the plan go ever so slightly differently. So here's how I originally had the plan go. So, initially, Murfish was going to turn around and go, he can take you to the house of those rich kids, which is basically encouraging the player, like basically pointing to a location and going, players, go over there and do that. It's a bit boring. The players were then going to be encouraged to, do whatever they need to get the information. They were then going to be told to go to this other location, which was where basically some thugs have kidnapped the two kids, and unbeknownst to the rich kids, they were basically going to be like taken somewhere else for fates unknown, sold into slavery. Something real bad was going to happen to them, and they didn't want to have it happen. So that was then going to be an encounter where like the players needed to sneak in to the hideout of these thugs, and then there was going to be a big kind of car chase where the players were going to be on horseback chasing down these thugs who in the back of the cart had the kids like kind of bound and hooded and stuff. Now, if they got there and they successfully did like persuasion rolls, they would be able to figure out, but basically persuade the thugs that it wasn't really worth their time, wasn't really worth the money and the effort, and they should just let the kids go. And then the thugs would be like, all right, fair enough. Now, just going back to when they get given the quest, having Murfish turn around and go here, absolutely, that's fine. Right? I'm happy with that. However, I don't want it to feel, that Murfish is leading the players in a direction, right? I want the players to be leading Murfish or the story in directions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Murfish not suggest where for them to go. I'm going to let the players kind of lead the investigation. So if they turn around and go, oh, well, take us to Baltor and Gilfrax, absolutely Murfish will take them to Baltor and Gilfrax. However, if the players want to like try and investigate the room where they were kidnapped to try and find some evidence, some clues as to where like the friends have gone, I gotta be like real, fluid with it. So I'm gonna have Murfish sit out a little bit. He's gonna take a bit of a back seat. He's drunk. He's like, maybe he falls asleep for a moment and then he gets woken up when they're talking. Murfish isn't going to lead this, the players are, and they're going to move the plot forward. So I'm going to allow them their opportunity to kind of have their discussion and figure out what it is they want to do, and then Murfish is going to be the one that accommodates that decision making, and then the narrative will shift and change. However, saying that, everything that I've already planned, the encounter with the kids, the encounter, or the Brothers Grimm, and the encounter with the thugs at their hideout, those things don't have to be deleted. Things don't have to be like scrapped and thrown in the bin. Those things I can repurpose and reuse within this encounter because they're still going to end up in those key locations. It's just that how they go about it is entirely up to them. If they investigate the room where the kids have been like kidnapped from, they might find like a calling card. They might find something that links the kidnapping to this particular band of criminals, and then Murfish can be like, oh, I don't know anything about no criminal stuff, but like one of my like college buddies like buys drugs from a gang. Maybe you could go talk to those guys, and then the players can go in that direction, and they find out that, oh, actually, this is the calling card of this gang. They usually hang out here, and then the players can go there, and then you just immediately slot in the encounter with the bandits at their hideout. If the players turn around and go, oh, well, we haven't discovered anything in the room, you can just immediately, then they turn around and go, I want to go like talk to those rich kids. You can immediately slot in the rich kid bit, and then that will immediately allow them to slot in, this is where the people are. Being fluid and just having ideas of beats more than full narratives is way better, because you can take a beat, you can rip it out and let the players suss something out, or go down instead of up, and you can just take whatever was up and you can just put it down, and the players feel like they have the choice, but really they're just going to end up in the exact same place. Saves you tons of time planning 300,000 different like possibilities. Well, what if they decide to just sit in the tavern and eat? And then one of them gets hit with a spoon and then a fight breaks. You don't need to plan anything like that. if you've already planned somewhere else that a bar brawl breaks out, rip that out and put it in, right? You don't need to plan it. Just have these beats in your narrative that the players can interact with. So that's basically the plan for the next session. That is going to end basically with the players being given, depending on how things go. If they get away, the players aren't going to get a reward, but they're going to have a chance to earn back the favor of Murfish by basically taking the place of his friends in this magical encounter, or in this magical thing, and that'll then spur them on to do the learning and stuff. If they succeed, then Murfish will give them the promise to 10 gold, but then also, as a kind of honor, allow them into his thing, because he's seen them basically perform really well. And his friends, they're going to be pretty roughed up from their time with these thugs. So that's kind of the two outcomes of that. Success, they're given their money and they're allowed into this little band called the Abracadabras. They're allowed into that little band, and then they're allowed to work with Murfish, and Murfish will be a more recurring character. If they fail, they don't get that, but I reskin the victory condition to be a you owe me, so I need you to help me do this now, instead of a you guys were amazing, help me. Again, I don't have to break the flow of my narrative. It's still going exactly where I want it to, but the player's ability to succeed or fail has just made it feel different. Again, with reskinning or moving things about, this is exactly that. The players, the decisions they make may just end up leading to the same place, but the outcomes of that same place are ever so slightly different. So that's how I'm planning this little bit. The next bit after that I will do after this is done. So I think that's pretty much everything, and that was around about half an hour, which is exactly what I kind of wanted to allot for these. It's around about 30 minutes with the DM. So I hope anybody that listened to this, that you found this useful and kind of enlightening as to what the planning of a DM, what the DM goes through, as far as thinking of the scenarios and the planning of it goes. So I hope this really helped you. I know it's helping me, because I find sometimes when I sit down and I plan encounters and I plan stories and things like that, I can get a little too into my own head, and I kind of just get stuck with almost a kind of writer's block. But it's not a writer's block, because the moment I talk about the idea, all the ideas come tumbling out. But when it's in my head, sorry, when it's in my head, it's kind of stuck there, and it's not, the paper isn't sticky enough to catch it. It's just not coming out. So I hope that you found these helpful. I know I'm going to find them helpful, like I just said. But thank you very much, everybody, for your time. And I hope that you tune in next week for the Urslok Chronicles, where we're going to be doing exactly what I just said that we've been doing. And if you've already watched the next episode, The Big Worries of a Little Wizard, let me know how you felt like it went. Let me know if you feel like I've lived up to the planning that I've done. If you think the kind of the modular nature came into play, let me know about that. Because I would love to hear your guys' opinions on how these things are going. So thank you very much. I've been Andy, the humble, I'm not fucking humble, bullshit, the ever amazing DM of the Urslok Chronicles, and we will catch you next week. Thank you very much. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.